Today I have to, again, talk about an unfortunate topic, but I think it's better that we talk about it than don't talk about it. So there's been another allegation of a Tibetan Lama for inappropriate behavior, molesting a woman. I spoke to this about this with some of the community yesterday, but I wanted to do it as a BBC as well, and also because not everybody was there yesterday. So it's closer to home because it's a teacher who has taught here twice, and the last time being 2 years ago. And so there was an allegation that on a plane, I guess it was going from Delhi to the airport near Dharamsala, that he molested a woman. I don't know the details of that, but he was arrested and then released on bail. And after that happened, a woman from Venezuela put online a video that she made because she had been molested, said she had been molested by him 10 years ago. And she also included with that an affidavit. How do you say it? Affidavit? That she had written 8 years ago, describing all the details of it. So I had heard other allegations, a couple of years ago about the same teacher. But at that time, I was only hearing a secondhand here and a secondhand there. The people who were making the allegations weren't identified. I wasn't told their names. I could not go talk to them. I couldn't ask them questions. There was no investigation with a published report. And so based on just that, a lack of information, there was no way I could say, make a conclusion about the whole thing. I just had to leave it very open. So now I'm really hoping that, I'm sure the police will do something, but I think more than that is necessary, that the one Dharma group where he or big Dharma organization where he teaches a lot, I think they should do an independent investigation, because on these kind of things, if you just kind of sit back and wait, then the air doesn't get cleared up and nobody knows for sure what happened. And I think it's better, have a party that isn't involved in this at all, do an investigation and talk to the various people. And I think the women who, have been molested should come forth, and if there's an investigation like this, and talk to the people. Maybe they don't want to be identified by their name, but they should at least speak to the investigators if there is an investigation, which I sure hope there is. Because in these kind of things, I think you have to get reliable information. Because it also has happened, I've been at another Dharma center where it happened that there was somebody who was a woman who was not very mentally stable, who made an accusation against a Lama, and it was completely false. And it was, through the whole center in upheaval, and made the Lama unwilling to, be, he really kind of backed off after that, which for good reason. Yeah. So I think it's important to know, if it's an accurate allegation or something that's not. So that's one point. Then the next point is, if this is somebody who's your teacher, or at least one of your teachers, then how do you deal with that? And so I think it was a couple of years ago, or maybe 1 year ago, when this whole thing exploded about another Lama, I gave a whole series of talks. Do you know the name of the series so people could look it up? So it was BBC. It was at BBC, and I gave several talks about that, about how to deal with it in terms of your own practice and seeing this person as your Lama and appreciating the help that they've given you in the Dharma so far. You know, in other words, somebody may have done a mistaken action, but it doesn't mean everything about them is useless and you should throw everything out. But, you know, if this is disturbing your mind, you know, and influenced your trust in that teacher, you can back off and, you know, go to other teachers, but still appreciate and respect this teacher for how they did help you in the Dharma. But I refer people here mostly to the talks that I gave before. And then I wanted to share with you a little bit about how I deal with these kinds of things, because I hear a lot of things, sometimes about teachers misbehaving, sometimes about students misbehaving. But the way I deal with all these things across the board is, I think, you know, I'm in a samsaric being. I've been in samsara since beginningless time. They say that we've done everything in samsara except practice the Dharma, clearly, because we would have been out of samsara if we had practiced the Dharma. But so then I think, okay, then these accusations that I'm hearing about other people's misbehavior, these are also actions that I've done in my previous lives. So I may not remember doing them, and I may not have done exactly the same thing, but certainly being a samsaric being who's full of defilements, I can't go around with my nose in the air and say, well, I'm very pure, but these people are corrupt. But rather, it's much more helpful for my practice to say, you know, I've done these kinds of things or similar kinds of things. And now, you know, seeing the effects that these things have on other people and also on the perpetrator, I want to make a very, very firm decision never to be involved in such actions again from now until enlightenment. You know, not just the rest of my life, but all, you know, from now until enlightenment. May I never be involved in these kinds of things because it's so damaging and painful to other people and destroys their trust in the Dharma, and then it's awful for the perpetrator too, because they create so much negative karma. So, and then I do purification. Yeah, and so I find that helps my mind tremendously. It keeps my mind from blaming somebody. It keeps my mind from being angry at somebody. Yeah, it keeps my mind from being self-righteous. And it actually settles my mind in the sense that I have work to do, even if I can't remember exactly what I did in previous lives. You know, I've done everything, so I need to really purify and make a firm determination never to do those kinds of things again. And so when I think like that, then my mind gets much more settled. It gets clear. The turbulence in the mind settles down. So I really recommend that to you, you know, as a method to deal with these kinds of things. And it applies to anybody doing any kind of negative action, you know, to understand it in this way. And then, of course, develop compassion for the person while still saying that the action is negative, to have compassion for the person. So let's make very clear when I say now that everything that I'm hearing is alleged, you know. And I'm also saying that we should take what, you know, people say about sexual abuse seriously. Yeah, we shouldn't just shine it on. And, you know, this woman was allegedly told that it was a compassionate massage. Okay, so, we should take these things seriously and not brush them off and get to the bottom of it. Okay, but it's all alleged. Yeah, we don't know. Yeah, and that's the whole point, It's hard to draw a conclusion when you don't have all the information. So, but you have to take it seriously, yeah. And people are hurt, and you have to appreciate, this woman in the video, she was definitely hurt, and you have to, that's something to be aware of and take seriously. So it also emphasizes to me, the importance of keeping ethical conduct and what we're trying to do here at the Abbey and why ethical conduct is the basis of the practice. Because we need to be able to control our body and speech in order to control the mind. And we need to be able to make wise decisions and to be sensitive to cultural factors and so on. And not just say, oh, ethical conduct is some simple practice. Okay, so that's one point. Second point is we all make mistakes. That's why we have posada every 2 weeks. Yeah, because we all make mistakes and we have transgressions. So the important thing to do is to admit our transgressions, yeah, and really follow the Vinaya. I was thinking, also, this is another point, because the big organization where the Islam teaches very often, they have an ethics policy. And I was thinking that's quite good, Yeah, organizations should have ethics policy. Our ethics policy is the Vinaya. Okay, I don't think we need a special one because the Vinaya tells you what to do in these kind of situations. A few weeks ago, somebody called me about another event, and that one, it's like, okay, the Vinaya says this, and the Vinaya says that, and that's how you relate to it. It's very clearly spelled out. And I think that's a great guidance and also a great relief, because then we're not making up our own ways of handling things, but we're just doing it in the method that the Buddha described.
Always felt, since I've lived here, that, and this ties right into what you're saying, that one of the strengths of how we've been taught here is to be transparent. And we've brought that into the Posada, which not everyone does in the same way that we do, but I think it's really beneficial for us. I think it's a protection for me as an individual, to be able to have the trust in the people I live with, that I can disclose my mistakes and not get far down the path before you're lost.
Yeah. Yeah, because if you can disclose the minor mistakes and get support, then you're preventing the major mistakes. Whereas if you don't do posada or don't have an opportunity or you don't live in a place where there's that transparency, then the minor things don't get disclosed, so you don't get the help and the support to avoid the more major ones. Yeah. Okay. There's, in the monks' vows, the nuns don't have this, but there's 2 vows in the monks' pratimoksha that are called indeterminate, and it involves accusations of sexual molestation or flirting or cajoling, these kinds of things. And depending on the statement of the woman about what happened, then the monks' community decides whether it's a parajika, whether it's a sanghavasesa, whether it's a lapse. So a lot depends on the statement of the woman. And then the repercussions, are different depending upon which type of offense it is. Yeah. So it's right there in the Vinaya, It's like, yeah, this is how you deal with it.